Hi, welcome to Improve Work podcast. Here you'll find resources to level up your leadership role and create the team that you want. It's Daniela here. Feel free to ask me questions about today's episode's topic. Also, if you would like me to speak about a specific topic, let me know. You'll find my email address in the description of this episode. I hope you enjoy it and subscribe. Okay, let's get started. Today we'll talk about remote work. We'll talk about pros and cons. So, do you have a remote team, or are you considering offering remote work options to your employees? Keep in mind that the game and the play rules are different than those of office work. And by gaining a thorough understanding of the pros and cons of remote work, you'll be able to leverage its advantages and proactively address any potential drawbacks. And I want to specify that, as you know, remote work is not possible for all types of jobs. For instance, production workers have to be on site because they need to use or handle machinery. Similarly, hospital staff have to be there for the hospital to function. Jobs that can be done remotely are, for example, those in the fields of IT, sales, marketing, or customer service. If you have both types of jobs in your company, you may want to consider if it's good for your company to have two groups, those who work remotely and those who work at the office, because this can create separation between these two groups, and this may not be so good for your company. So let's explore the pros and cons of remote work. The first point that we'll discuss is the impact of remote work on a company's costs. So in case the employees work fully remotely, you can save costs with office spaces and utilities, office supplies, and equipment. However, even if these kinds of costs may be lower, the company has to invest in technologies and equipment that create the proper conditions for the employees to work remotely. Depending on the jobs, the companies have to provide safe communication tools, software and programs that enable and facilitate work outside the office. So the whole infrastructure has to be dedicated to this kind of work. In conclusion, the cost may or not be lower, depending on how much an employer invests in the tools and the resources that are used by remote employees. Another potential source of cost savings is lower absenteeism and sick leaves, which lead to higher productivity. And this is because studies show that those who work remotely have a lower absenteeism and fewer sick leaves. The downside of this is that their productivity may decrease during and after these times, as they push themselves when they need to rest. Therefore, to maintain a balance between work time, health, and long-term productivity, companies have to establish clear policies and allow employees to take time off to recover from illnesses, even if these are not so seriously, are not very acute. The second point of this discussion, the remote work effects on productivity. So it can enhance or decrease the productivity. Studies show that the employees who were able to work from home increased their performances by at least 22%. And this is because they can focus more on their activities by having less distractions at home. Also, they can create working conditions that are suitable for them. So in an office, they have to adapt, for example, to the temperature that is set there. They may hear disturbing noises from other colleagues, and they have to work in the spaces that are assigned to them. But at home, or whenever they choose to work, they can control these elements to fit their needs and have less stress. Okay, and on the other side, when the employees don't have the proper conditions at home to work, they can have a higher level of stress than at the office. So their productivity will decrease. They may not have a separate space to work. Other family members may be present. Their work activities may overlap with responsibilities like childcare or something else. And also, when the employees don't have the proper conditions to interact with each other, to collaborate or change ideas and get the moral support they need, their productivity can decrease. That's why it's so important the companies create the proper means for the employees to communicate and collaborate while working remotely, and invest in those technologies that facilitate these things. The third aspect that we'll discuss is remote work effects on employee well-being. These effects can be good and negative. It can increase the employee well-being because remote work enables more flexibility for the employees. They can take breaks when they need them. They can organize their daily work to a greater extent. Some employees may prefer to take long lunch breaks, while others may opt for short ones. Or some of them may choose to start work at 7 a.m., while others may do so at 10 a.m. So they have more flexibility. They can have a better work-life balance because they can fit their personal stuff into their day without taking a day off, for example, which they would need to do if they worked in an office. So, for example, they can schedule a medical appointment at any time at the day and adjust their working hours accordingly. Also, well-being can be increased due to less stress. Some employees are less stressed at home than at the office. As mentioned before, work conditions play an important role. And although remote work can increase employee well-being, the opposite effect can also happen. If employees lack social support, clear boundaries between their private and work time, resources to use for work, or adequate equipment, their well-being can be negatively affected. So, for instance, some employees may still be in the learning process and may not be in a phase where they can work fully independently. If the company does not have clear procedures for these situations, these employees will not be able to perform well on their own at home. If they would work at the office, they could ask for help from others. Creating intentional programs for these people, such as mentorship programs where they have a designated more senior colleague to help them, will make things easier for them. Also, the company will avoid work blocks, low performance, disencouragement, and losing employees who feel they cannot make it in their jobs. And in general, creating open lines of communication for everyone so they can reach any team member, ask questions, ask for a colleague's advice, or simply chat about personal matters will make a big difference. So encourage them to use the communication tools you provide by using them yourself. Some of your employees may be more reserved and need encouragement to ask for help or communicate more often. The fourth aspect that we discuss about remote work is remote work effects on employee relationships and company culture. So, on one hand, there are fewer opportunities for employees to interact with each other, resulting in a smaller network where employees primarily connect with colleagues who share common tasks or collaborations. Why is this a disadvantage? Well, sometimes work friendships form between colleagues who work in different departments, who don't have to work together because they don't have conflictual interest. These relationships are often more relaxed and impact how the employee feels in the company. It can be harder for an employee with strong friendships to leave the company than for one who doesn't get along with his or her colleagues. Another aspect of remote work, virtual connections are less powerful than physical ones. Do you agree? Just compare an online meeting that you had with someone to an in-person meeting with the same person. What are the differences? And another aspect, physical connections are more natural and authentic than online ones. Even the fact that we see ourselves on the screen can change our reactions and facial expressions. Or the fact that the meeting is being recorded may change our behavior. Who knows who will see us in that discussion and form an impression about us or make decisions about us. So, we may become more restrictive and thoughtful in our behavior to protect ourselves. This can be a good and bad thing at the same time. It's good if the person who is more thoughtful about the impression he or she may leave on others is controlling behaviors or attitudes that are inappropriate. Transparency plays a controlling role in this case. Behaviors such as bullying, inappropriate tone of voice, or unfair decisions are less likely to occur in these circumstances. However, it can also be a negative thing if we become inauthentic. We often have more courage to express our opinions and give feedback in smaller groups where we know the members than if we know that what we say can be accessed by people who may react poorly or by people that we don't know. With the new AI tools that are now available for businesses to record even the physical meetings and generate reports and summarizes, such as those created by Microsoft, what we say can be used anytime. And this forces us to become more responsible, but at the same time it may take away our authenticity and change the whole way we communicate. So we no longer only think about how to communicate certain things to John and Sarah, for example, but we are also thinking about how what we say will be perceived by people who have access to our meeting conversation. The audience becomes broader and are more factors to take into consideration. Our communication is not focused only on John and Sarah, but also on the people who have access to it and who can give us feedback even if they don't know the whole situation. So there may have been unrecorded or spontaneous conversations that explain different choices, views, and actions. These outside people may form impressions that are not accurate. So misunderstandings can occur in this situation. There are some limitations of AI tools. When a company uses remote work, it will be harder to create a sense of connection and the team spirit. And this is because the employees may feel more detached from the company. Although you may try informal and fun virtual meetings to replace the spontaneous conversations that would have taken place between your team members at the office, such as coffee chats, lunch meetings, these are not the same as in-person interactions. You can't replace spontaneity and in-person interactions with scheduled meetings. To create a sense of connection and being part of a team, I recommend having in-person meetings or events at least 1 or twice a year. You could combine formal meetings with team building activities that allow the employees to interact in an informal manner, such as playing games or different sports and spending a few days together. Even if you can do this only twice a year, it will make a significant difference. Another way to proceed is to combine remote work with work at the office, if your team members' locations allow them to do so. You could have 1 or 2 days at the office and the rest of the week working remotely. The fifth aspect of remote work we are discussing about is remote work effects on employee retention. On one hand, because the employees feel more detached from their employers and coworkers, their loyalty can decrease. According to research, 42% of remote employees feel less connected to their company's culture and 25% feel less connected to their coworkers. And on the other hand, remote work can improve employee retention. As mentioned before, benefits like flexibility, autonomy, and better work-life balance, less stress, and increased productivity can lead to higher appreciation of their jobs. According to a study of Harvard Business Review, 62% of employees feel more productive when working remotely, and 57% say they are less stressed. Therefore, the effect of remote work on employee retention may depend on how well employers manage the challenges and opportunities of remote work. And the last aspect that we'll discuss about remote work is its effects on talent pool. So with remote work, you will have access to a wider talent pool. You can hire people from different locations, expanding your search area and enabling you to consider candidates who were previously inaccessible. And you can make better selections without compromising on candidates' profiles. But the other side of this coin is the fact that your employees have more opportunities to change jobs. And what you offer to an employee is not only compared with what other companies from the same location as yours offer, but also with what companies around the world are offering. Okay, this was all for today. So we talked about remote work effects on companies' cost, on productivity, on employee well-being, on employee relationships and companies' culture. We talked about the remote work effects on employee retention and the opportunities that remote work creates for you to access a more wider talent pool. Let me know what are your thoughts about remote work. And if you have questions about this post, I'll be happy to answer them. Use the email address from the description. If you like this episode, subscribe. Check out my online programs and resources from this episode descriptions. This will help you to increase your employee motivation and level up your leadership skills. Okay, thank you so much for listening. See you soon. Bye bye.